Welcome to the Evans Legacy Financial Podcast, where real people have real conversations about money, mindset, and making moves. I'm your host, Jake Evans, and this show isn't about fluff or hype. It's about educating our community, sharing stories, and giving you the tools to make better decisions in business and in life. Let's dive in. Good morning and welcome to today's episode, $1 Million Shift, where we help agents cross the bridge from Medicare to legacy. Welcome to our audience, and today we're going to talk about something powerful, how Medicare agents can create a true shift in their business and become Today we're talking about something powerful, how Medicare agents can create a true shift in their business and income by stepping into the world of life insurance and annuities. I'd like to welcome back Javier Veliz Jr., an industry veteran with decades of experience helping clients over 65 navigate their health insurance and retirement plans. He's been a mentor, a guide, and a champion of doing what's right for clients. Welcome, Javier. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Jake. I really appreciate you having me on again. What is this, our third session, huh?
It's our third session, and we're going to bring you back for some more, I'm understanding. So just stay tuned because he's been around for a long time. So, as someone who's navigated multiple transactions in business myself, I know how hard it can be to pivot. And we're talking about pivoting here, right?
Correct.
That's why I'm excited to dig into this conversation, because it's not about selling more, it's about serving better.
That's correct.
So what I want to do, talk about 10,000 Americans aging into Medicare daily, the $78.5 trillion wealth transfer that's going on in today's business, the opportunity to protect more, not just enroll more. So Javier, what do you say to the agent who's nervous about learning something new like life insurance or annuities?
You know, you're absolutely right, Jake. There is a nervousness, an apprehension to talking to your current clients. And the reason why there's the nervousness is because Medicare is highly regulated. It's highly regulated with how and what you can talk to beneficiaries about. So in one instance, a Medicare agent is helping a consumer navigate the waters of their health insurance, which is really important to them. Do they go with a PPO plan that maybe where they can have the freedom of going to any doctor they want to go to, or do they navigate something called a Medicare Advantage plan where it's more of an HMO type of a plan where you have to get aligned with all your doctor groups and you have to find out about their medications. There's so much involved with it, but specifically a Medicare agent must adhere to the Medicare protocols, and that is, if we are having a conversation about Medicare, there is something called a scope of appointment that says that this is all we're going to talk about. And if a client wants to talk about anything else, whether it's financial services, life insurance, reverse mortgages, whatever the situation may be, we have to stop the conversation and let the person know, no, we can't talk about that. We just talk about this. I'm here to take care of your Medicare.
So there's I have similar guidelines in my business as a notary. When I'm in front of a client signing loan docs for a title company, I can't talk about my real estate business or my other businesses. I have to stay on point with what, and if they talk to about it, I say, we're here to focus on this right here. So I get that.
That's right.
I really do get that.
And so many agents, there's probably 500,000 life insurance agents that you have to be a life insurance agent to be able to sell Medicare. So there's probably 500,000 life insurance agents in the United States that are selling Medicare, but they don't have the tool set in order to be able to pivot into talking about retirement plans and talking about estate planning and life insurance. So there's a very clear path to that, and I teach agents how to do it compliantly and effectively and without running into trouble. If you look up my insurance license with the Department of Insurance, you'll see that in my 30-year career, I have not had one complaint ever filed against me. And that's because I do everything by the book. And I teach agents how to do it by the book.
So let me ask you something. We've used this word a couple of times, and I know what it means to me because You introduced me to this word in the business, and that word is pivot. Tell me what that means to an agent to pivot and why.
So I started in the life insurance business, 30 years ago with John Hancock, and the way that I was trained was I was trained first on long-term care, and then I was trained on life insurance, and then ultimately I got my securities license, and I started to help people with mutual funds and what we call variable products. When you're a life insurance agent and you're finding out things about people, it's natural to then find out where their retirement accounts are at, and where their other assets are. And so we're there for one piece of business. You take care of that business, you help them with that business, and then you pivot into what else you think you might be able to help them with. It's a transition, but it takes delicacy, and it takes a little bit of an expertise. And I've been doing it for so long that it comes natural and easy for me to find those things out. So, but like I said, in this realm, we're heavily regulated, and so we have to be very careful with how we make that pivot. But I know how to do it, and I teach other agents how to do it. And that's what $1 Million Shift is all about, is how to overcome the apprehension and be able to talk about these things with somebody. Now, I'm going to give you an example. So one agent, so I bring agents onto my team. I teach them, and then they will earn another income stream that they're not used to receiving. And so in this one particular case, I have a client, I have an agent who was with a Medicare client. Now, that client brought up to him that he'd lost a lot of money in the marketplace. So I had already trained the agent to remind the client that, you know what, we can't talk about that right here and there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to call you on later on this afternoon. We'll have a different conversation and set up another appointment. And that's exactly what happened. So when they set up the second appointment, then what happened was I was on the telephone with them. I had the client get his annual statement. He had lost $30,000 overnight with the market fluctuations back in early April. And what happened was, in his statement, it also showed that he had over $30,000 in fees for that year. So he'd lost $30,000 in the market, $30,000 in fees with a very reputable, big financial firm that everybody knows. And this financial firm had him in a diversified in many different mutual funds. There was hardly anything fixed in it. And the gentleman's 70 years old. And so what ended up happening was that once we talked, then I told him that I had a solution. We set up another appointment. So a lot of times, this is not just you meet with somebody and you talk to somebody and you sell them. It took 4 appointments to actually finally capture the business. But what we ended up moving was $1,050,000. It took about 45 days to move it from the financial firm to my annuity company. And the annuity company that I dealt with, we ended up moving, he got 19% on his rollover. So he ended up making up his $60,000 in fees and losses, and then still made another 60, I believe it was about 60 or 70,000 on top of that. Now, the agent that brought the case to me, we split the business, and he ended up earning $33,000, and I ended up earning $30,000. So it's a win-win.
And that's not paid by the client. That's paid by the company that you brought the business to.
That is correct.
I want to make that clear, because these concessions or compensations, I'm going to say, because I don't like using the other word,
Sure.
but these compensations come from, it's just like in any business, these compensations are coming from the company that we're hired to do the transaction.
That is correct.
Okay.
So there is no fee for the client. His money goes to work right away.
Right.
So so which company that we use, which product we use, those are all part of the training that I do with the agents that I bring on board and I teach.
And that's what, and it's just like with any of my businesses, like my real estate business and my notary business and that, when we bring something to a client, we're bringing them the education that we have as far as whatever industry it is. We're bringing that education to them and saying, okay, when you hire me, you get A, B, C, D, and E, and these are the things I'm bringing to you. I'm going to try to make the best choices and help you make the best choices by educating you on what's going on.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so I want to talk about. I want to go back to the word shift, because I remember you and I were having a conversation, or the word pivot, and I remember I was dealing with something and getting my life license. You remember that? And I was jumping through hoops, and I was hitting walls, and then I decided that I was going to get in my car and drive to 3 different counties over 400 miles in California and just get these things done. And that's when you stepped up and you said you didn't pause, you pivoted. This is what it's all about. It is. In anything that we do in life, it's all about, if we come up on something, we pivot and we make it happen. Somehow, some way, legally, mind you, we make it happen, right?
That's correct.
So, and that's what it's all about. So, we want to talk a little bit about, we talked about compliance, full circle retirement solutions, current client relationships as a starting point. Okay, what's the first mindset shift an agent needs to make in this area?
Okay, so one thing that's happening is in the industry is making a shift. So we have these FMOs, these huge conglomerates, and these FMOs, they tie up the insurance agents with all the contracts necessary in order to be able to sell the Medicare products. Okay, all of these FMOs have been making a shift. They're making the shift into financial services. They're making the shift because of the huge $78 trillion transfer of wealth that's occurring, and they expect this to occur over the next 5 to 20 years, and so it's huge. And so these financial service companies, they're seeing that there's huge opportunity, but there's also a lot of instability in the marketplace with all of these different Medicare companies. They keep changing the plans. The customers are constantly having to navigate those waters. A lot of times they're doing it without solid representation agents, and at the same time, the agents are having to navigate these same waters, having to move their clients to other insurance plans that offer the doctors. Everything just keeps changing on an annual basis, and now we're starting to hear about different parts of the country where carriers have cut commissions, and so there's a lot of instability, and this basically makes agents a little bit afraid, because if I go back to about 15 years ago when we had Covered California come into California, my book of business, I was making about $2,000 a month on small family businesses' health plans, and just overnight, when the Affordable Care Act came into play, the insurance companies were offering the same plan to my clients at 50% reduction in premium. And so basically it cut out the insurance agents. And so the consumers could go straight to the insurance company and get reduced premiums for the same coverage. And basically that is when I pivoted into Medicare. And so 15 years ago is when I actually started to do the Medicare business. And now what happened to us there, all the people that were in the business at that point in time, when they remember this, now we're starting to see that maybe that might happen again now with Medicare. So there's some uncertainty. And I went to a huge convention in Vegas a couple of months ago, and it was there was at that convention there was 4,500 attendees. There were over 2,000 licensed life insurance agents, all that sold Medicare, and all the breakout sessions. There was at least 10 breakout sessions where it was talking about making the conversion, making the pivot into financial services, doing annuities and life insurance. And those breakout sessions were heavily the attendance was standing room only. And so that's when I started to realize that I have the ability to teach people this. And so that's when I started to actually come up with $1 Million Shift, because I'm already teaching people how to do this.
Right. So mindset, the mindset shift is making sure that we're paying attention to the industry and what's going on.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So, next we want to talk about, tools, support, and training, mentorship opportunities, proven cross-marketing systems, weekly training, and access to top carriers. How does an agent go from unsure to unstoppable? What kind of training or systems do they need?
Sure. So I have the ability to either, if somebody wants to come on board with me and learn from me, I will spend the time and effort to teach them my skill set and help them go out and actually make these sales. So there is a couple of different ways that I work. So if somebody just wants to refer business to me and let me do all the work, I can do that also. If somebody just is too busy, but they have their life insurance license, all they have to do is get set up with the carriers that I use, and if they refer me to somebody, we will work out the details of how to compensate. I'm usually somebody that is willing to be very fair, depending upon how much time and effort we put into something. Mm-hmm. So there's a couple of different models. There's that way. Then there's the people that I will train, and then they will go off and they will do it on their own, kind of like yourself. I've trained you, and you're kind of going off on your own and doing it yourself, which is ultimately what I really would like to do, is be able to have a team of people that are able to do it themselves. But I will do all the training and the teaching. And then if somebody wants to really take advantage of all the opportunities that are available through my organization and my operation, there are ways that we can look into profit sharing plan. The company that I deal with is a startup company. We're building teams. We are building a business that we can transfer on to the next generation, to my wife, to my children. And if you want to learn about that side of it, I can take you into that as well. So there's multiple different ways that you can learn how to make money in my organization with my leadership. And
so we're talking about, and what I hear a lot in the office and through our partners here, what I hear a lot and what you're talking about is duplication. You're taking this and you're taking basically a rubber stamp of how to do things, and you're stamping it over here, you're stamping it over there, and you're stamping it over there, and there's 1, 2, 3 now that are doing the same thing. It's like somebody told me the other day, when I started this podcast, I was fearful. The reason I was fearful is because I said, it's already been said. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying has probably already been said, but one person, and I don't remember who it was, I'd love to give them credit, but they said, but they haven't said it to your audience. Mm-hmm. And we all, each and every one of us, have our own audience. So that duplication isn't necessarily redundancy. It's brand new for that agent or that person's audience. They have their own audience. They have their own client base. They have their own sphere. And if we are duplicating that over and over and over again, it's not a redundancy. It's not repetitive. It's new every time it starts.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
And to just kind of add a little bit to that, I'm recruiting. I'm recruiting life insurance agents all over the United States. This last week, I recruited an agent from New Mexico, from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and already I'm already teaching her how to move into selling annuities with her clientele. So it's it doesn't matter where you're at, and you can do as little as you want or as much as you want, but there is a lot of opportunity. And what's happening is that the big FMOs are realizing this. They're pivoting into the wealth transfer, and you are a life insurance agent and you have clients that are over 65. Learn how to make the shift. Don't be afraid. I can teach you how to do it.
Right. Okay.
And before I forget, just let me remind everybody that I have a website. It's www.amilliondolarshift.com. You can go on my website and you can see more of the information that I have there.
All right, that's great. And I will put that in the comments section for everybody to click on it and go ahead and take a look. So you talk about client first, agent first, company first model. What does that actually look like in action?
So the first thing is that I'm currently just dealing with products where clients cannot lose any money. So you will catch all the high points. So every time the market makes money, you will catch the high point. But in the years when the market loses money, you don't lose anything. You're still at your high point. That is beneficial to the client because it's safe money. You cannot lose. And so some of the companies offer bonuses that are on top of the deposit that you give. And so it's all, and every client is different. We have 50 different companies that we can put our products through, and each client is going to have a special need, and each company offers might have the product that's necessary. So what I do for you, Jake, is not necessarily what I'm going to do for David Fuentes. It's not necessarily what I'm going to do for Sandra Hernandez. It's not what I'm going to do for Matt Sharrock. What each particular individual, we're going to tailor it to their need. So that's what you mean by client first. We know that you're not going to lose anything, and you might get a bonus on top of it, but it's always going to be tailored to what you need. Agent second, of course, we need to be compensated correctly, and so all of our carriers, we may get a reduced commission versus if you're out on the street, but you're going to have the dedication of being able to work with me and work with my expertise. So that's the client first, agent first, and company first. We want to put together good quality business with our carriers. And let me tell you something about the carriers. The carriers are they also are really wanting to make sure that compliance-wise, we are putting the right product with the right client. So we have to do full financial disclosures. We have to understand the client, and we need to make sure that what we're offering falls in line to the client's needs, but also, they have to meet a standard of compliance with the insurance company.
Okay, so I like that. So you talk about a zero loss, and I'm going to go into this because we've talked about it before, and we talked about the indexing and all that. And when we talk about a zero loss, I'm noticing that there are a couple of products that we have when we put it in where it's not just a zero loss. When there's a loss in the market, there's actually a slight gain in some, like one of the Fidelity products that we provide, is there's a actual gain in that area rather than there being a loss. And that's what we talk about when we talk about a zero loss.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's also like I said, I don't mention carriers, but there are certain carriers that specialize in certain different things, and so what we just do is we make sure that once we know what the situation is, that's when we start to offer whatever the product is. Mm-hmm. After we do our due diligence and our research, and pretty much I know those things when I'm meeting with the client, but I'm never a one interview salesman. I am always gather the facts and then come back and present. So that way the client feels comfortable, and the insurance agent will feel comfortable too.
So give me I want a story from the field. Give me an example of the Medicare and how it went from nothing to maybe life insurance to the Medicare, how it progressed. And you've been in the business long enough to look at a story that maybe includes all of that.
Yeah, I do. I'm thinking of one client right now. So I know that Sally doesn't mind that I mention her name. She just died recently. I just went to the funeral 2 weeks ago. Rudy's her husband. And these clients have been with me. I've been in the business 31 years. I encountered them maybe about 29 years ago. I set up their life insurance. So I set them up with 30-year term, and they never wanted to have any permanent insurance. They only wanted to deal with term life insurance, and they, when they approached retirement, so I had their life insurance all these years, and then when they became Medicare age, I took over their Medicare. So both of them had their Medicare insurance plans with me. And then when Rudy finally decided to retire, they asked me about it. And the way that I work with these clients is that because I have basically 3 different business types with them. I have their life insurance, I have their Medicare insurance for both of them, and then I was going to have their retirement accounts. So what I had to do is with these clients, every time I dealt with them, every time we talked on the phone and we got past the pleasantries, I would ask them, what are we talking about today? And they would say, well, I have some questions about my doctors and my Okay, so I just want you to know that this is all we're going to talk about. We're just going to talk about your doctors, and when we set up the appointment, that's all we're going to talk about. We're not talking about any other business I do for you. And so I'm compliant that way when I meet with them, and we go over all of their Medicare stuff. I'm compliant, right? And then when we're done with that, later on, when it's time to talk to them about their life insurance, then when we talk, I say to them, okay, you know what, Rudy and Sally, on this appointment, that when we meet, we're only going to talk about your life insurance. We're not going to talk about anything else. And so then I meet with them, and I went over all of that with them. And the same thing was true when we ended up having to go over their retirement plans and moving it from the company-sponsored 401k plan where he was at when he finally retired, moving that money out of there. And that had to have its own set of conversations that had nothing to do with any of the other business that we do. And I hold that standard with no matter who I'm talking to. Doesn't matter if it's a family member, a super good friend, because if I start slipping up with family members and super good friends, I'll do it with a client that is not a family member or super good friend. But most of my clients end up becoming super good friends. But exactly. I do everything the same way every time, and that's why I've never been in trouble.
Well, you said it in one of the earlier episodes, know me, like me, trust me, we'll do business.
That's usually the formula for me.
And I think that's in any business is, you're going to know me. If you like me, we get along, you can trust me, and then you're going to put, you're going to put your business in my hands.
And the worst thing to be as an insurance agent that is basically around other insurance agents, and I've seen it happen, is that, you have to trust me. Because if I mess up and I say something and I don't deliver, or I somehow find a way to make more money and leave you with less, eventually it all gets found out. And eventually, I want my name to always be solid. Mm-hmm. My name is solid, and I don't ever want there to be any kind of blowback on my name because I'm not doing something the right way with another insurance agent or with a client.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? It's a very small. There's a million of us out there, but it's a very small community. Just like the real estate business, you can't throw a rock in this town without hitting a realtor. Okay, mm-hmm. You can't throw a rock in this town without hitting a notary. From what I'm finding out, Mm-hmm. And so being holding up to our integrity and our ethical standards is very, very, very important, because we are, we're what did you call it? It's all about compliance. Anyway, so that kind of brings us to the end of our episode for this. This, and we talked about shift, we talked about mindset, we talked about philosophy. This shift isn't about abandoning Medicare; it's about expanding your value, right? Income diversification is impact amplification.
That's right.
And these are all things that we've discussed before. So every agent has the potential to become $1 million producer with the right tools and the right heart. So if you're ready to take the next step, connect with Javier. The shift is real, and it's happening now. Javier, any closing remarks?
No, I just appreciate you, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to share about this here. And like I said, one more time, come over to www.amilliondollar.shift.com.
All right. Thank you again, Javier. Thank you, everybody, for listening again, and we will see you next time. I believe we're going to be skipping probably a week, and he'll come back in a couple of weeks. But next time, I think what we're going to talk about is fear. We're going to bring a guy in and talk about fear and how to overcome that, and then we'll get back with you. All right, Javier? All right. Everybody have a great day.
All right. Take care, Jake.
Publicly oppose Rudolph Acosta being released from prison in 2019. And I was doing what I thought needed to be done. I didn't do it to receive an award.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it gratefully. But for me, when I look at that award, it's a reminder of all the victims and survivors, including the 2 that committed suicide, and why it's important to keep going forward and not stop.
Right.
Because there's days that I too want to stop. I'm tired. I've been at this since 2019, and this is my 3rd round.
It's exhausting.
It is exhausting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wears on me. So that award, I appreciate having been given that award, and I truly am honored. But for me, it's a reminder of work that I have to continue doing, pushing forward. That this is bigger than me.
Exactly. I'm going to go a little long on our episode today, and I hope our listeners don't mind, because this is some really deep stuff, and I think I'm eating it up, and I think that it's really important to just keep the flow going. Okay. I don't want to break it into another episode. This is going to be you've used both your voice and your platform to help others. What have you learned about healing and strength through service?
It's a journey. It really is. I like I mentioned earlier, I have moments of weakness, and then I'm reminded of all the victims and survivors and God, right? God has always had my back.
Mm-hmm.
Like every single time I feel like I'm going to break, my faith brings me right back and gets me to stand straight up and say, okay, you got this. You're not alone.
Exactly.
And so one of the things that I have definitely learned through this process of going through this and using my voice and advocating and trying to help as many as I can is that it does take a lot of faith. You got to believe in something higher than yourself. Mm-hmm. I truly believe that. Whatever you that is for you, but it has to be a higher power than yourself. There has to be some kind of faith there that you have, that you ground yourself and you're reminded.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I agree 100%. Trust me. And some of my story.
Mm-hmm.
So that's So outside of work, you love the outdoors, hiking, camping, painting. I think that's beautiful. What does that time give to you?
Restoration. It allows me to rebuild, re-energize, and feed into my soul. Right. I think all of us sometimes we're on a vicious cycle of giving or working our tails off until we can't no more. We're burning our candles at both ends. And yes, I'm guilty of that. And I'm always telling people there's 24 hours in a day. There's 24 hours. And you have the same amount of hours as the President of the United States.
Exactly.
What are you going to do with that? And so I've gotten a little bit more personal about making sure I'm taking care of myself, because I have found that when I choose to not do that, and it's a choice, right?
It is a choice.
This is not a third world country. We actually can wake up every morning and choose how we want to go about our day, how we want to interact, how we want to move through life, right? Every single day it's a choice. So I have consciously made a decision because of all the different things that I have chosen to do, which I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a mother of 9. And wow. I have young adults. I have a 10-year-old.
Okay, that gives me a whole new perspective here. I didn't know you were a mother of 9.
Yeah, many people don't know that.
Wow. Okay, that's huge. Wow. Okay.
And so also, you know, that I love giving back to my community and doing all that, but I have to be God. I have to feed my soul. Mm-hmm. And so doing all those different things, whether it's going to church on Sunday, going for a hike, painting, it feeds my soul. It re-energizes me, and we have to remember to do that. We have to take care of ourselves so we can continue to do the work we're intended to do here.
Exactly. It's the passion. You know, you have a blog, Our Hearts Thrive. Where do people find that?
So it's currently a blogger, and just type in Our Hearts Thrive.
Okay.
I am working on a website with Quick Labs, and it should be ready, I would say, by this Friday. Actually, that's
today.
That's today. So we'll see if it's done. But the gentlemen over at Quick Labs were very gracious to agree to do my website at no cost.
Wow. Okay.
Because they believe in the mission and the purpose of what this
That's pretty awesome.
is about. Yeah.
So you've got all this stuff going on. You got your real estate. You spend time for you, hiking, camping, painting. You have the NAREP. You have your rain work. You have all of this.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask a really big question. What's next for you? What's next for you personally or professionally? What are you excited about that's next?
You know, I'm actually on a pendulum right now. I'm not. There's something that I mentioned it earlier, right? On June 6th is the parole hearing, mm-hmm. and depending on the outcome of that, we'll decide the next step.
Okay.
I think it's very evident that I will be forming a nonprofit for Our Hearts Thrive, so that I can go ahead and help a lot more people that are going through trauma or are trying to support someone who's going through trauma of rape. And then the other part that I'm working on is actually making Llaves de tu Casa something that can be duplicated in every city. Because one of the reasons we started it too was the city of Fresno jumped on board with mm-hmm. us and became our partners when we started that initiative. And that opened up the door to grants and down payment and these conversations, how we could help the community. And so I want to be able to take that into other cities so that they can know how to utilize everything that's out there. But it's already there. We just
right.
We're not talking. We're not connecting all the dots. And so we need to connect all the dots and help people navigate through it.
And you know what? This brings us kind of to a close, but I want to, we've talked about your mission. We've talked about, courage beyond real estate, your Llaves de tu Casa, all of this, and duplication. As a matter of fact, in our office here, that's what we're all about. Duplication means success. Mm-hmm. If we duplicate what we're doing, somebody else is going to go do it, and then they're going to duplicate it, and it's just going to light fire across the country. And I believe in that.
And Jake, the thing is, I don't know about you, but I'm not going to be here forever.
No.
Right, so I want someone else to.
Right, and the legacy. That's again, we're bringing it back to legacy. Mm-hmm. We're duplicating the legacy. So when this is got this podcast, I'm hoping that long after I'm gone, people are still listening. You know what I'm saying? Because Absolutely. It's not just for today; it's for tomorrow and the next day and the next day. Every 24 hours counts. So. You know what? I'm going to bring you back, too. I really do want to bring you back after June 6th. Okay. Can we do that?
Absolutely.
All right. That sounds great. Thank you so much for coming in. Whether you're in real estate leadership or just trying to figure out your next chapter, Myrna's story shows that purpose and passion can open doors for generations to come, and there's that legacy again. I want everybody out there to follow Myrna's work through NAREP, Our Hearts Thrive, the Llaves de tu Casa. Look her up on Facebook. Any last words you want to say before we close out? Give me one point that you can make that sums it all up for you.
I don't know, sweetie. All I keep thinking is there's 24 hours in a day. What are you going to do with that? Right.
And enough said. That's powerful enough right there. Wow. So we've come to an end of another episode. Man, this has been, Myrna, I'm so glad that we talked at a meeting the other day and you agreed to do this. Thank you so much for coming in, and you're a blessing to our community, and keep doing what you're doing. Thanks for tuning into the Evans Legacy Financial Podcast. If you got value from today's episode, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us for more real conversations that move the needle in life and business. Until next time, keep building, keep growing, and never stop chasing what matters.